The Kim Jacobs Show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Kim Jacobs Show. So glad to have Mr. Terry Lamb with me today. How are you, Mr. Lamb?
I'm doing well. Hope you are.
I'm doing well, yes.
Good.
I wanted to get you on, and thank you so much for coming on and for being able to talk to people about being able to prepare for the inevitable. All of us know that at some point in life, we're going to transition from this particular earth as we know it. And in doing so, we need to be prepared. And so I encourage you all to invite your friends, your family, your coworkers, everybody to be a part of today's discussion with Mr. Terry Lamb here as our guest to talk about what we're going to do to be prepared this is for my guest for tomorrow, integrating lifestyle, parenting, and a value-centered approach. So be sure to tune in and watch that tomorrow as well. But I want to make sure that you all share with your friends, your family, and your coworkers that today we're talking about preparing for the inevitable. And that's what when we leave this earth, what are we going to be doing to be ready for that? And Mr. Terry Lamb is here to discuss that with us. So go ahead and tell me where you're visiting in from right when you come into the studio, and be prepared to ask questions throughout today's broadcast. He's more than willing, right, Mr. Terry?
Correct. Yes, ma'am. I
To
am.
answer any questions that you all may have. And so I definitely want you to pop them right in the comment section, and we will get to those questions today. Mr. Terry Lamb is a graduate from Montreat College with a Bachelor of Business Administration. He has an associate's degree in funeral service education from Fayetteville Community College, and he is also nationally state licensed, and he's licensed in all 50 states. So if you want to know whether he can service your area or your needs, the answer is yes, because he's certified in all of those areas. And I am excited to welcome Mr. Terry Lamb. Welcome to the Kim Jacobs Show.
Thank you.
All right. So I think we're going to just jump right in. Normally, I give people on this show a chance to tell us about your backstory and what made you interested. Okay, tell us what made you interested in becoming funeral home. Let's go there first for a second.
Well, I tell folks, I think it was a calling. Even though I've got family on both sides,
Yes,
that are funeral home owners, I believe that it was a calling. Take for instance, when I was a child, I used to go with my grandma. Of course, my grandparents raised me, but I used to go with them, of course, to a lot of funeral services, and I would come back and imitate what I've seen.
yes.
And the thing is, I would gather roadkill.
I didn't know this part of the story.
Yes, I would get roadkill and have funeral service for, and made my brothers and sisters come to the funeral. So I was operating my own mortuary way back when. So
okay, wait a minute. This right here is really taking your childhood dream to an extreme measure, right? Now, as a mom, we do have funeral services for our pets whenever they pass away.
Exactly.
Because they've become a part of our family. And anybody else, if you're watching and you have had, you may have had a funeral for a fish, or we've had a funeral for a frog.
Exactly. I had them all. Yeah.
You name it. We done did a lot of different type of funerals. Our pet Brownie, when she was 13 years living in our lives, we of course had to do a homegoing for her. And so anybody else that's watching today, if you have had homegoing services for your pets, please let us know in the comments section. And the fish, poor thing. I promise I'm not joking it at all.
Yeah.
Years in my daughter's lives and everything. But we didn't know what to do with the fish. So we were like, do we maybe send it through? Maybe I shouldn't say that. Okay, because we sent it through the water system, and did a formal water system release of the fish. So I hope it didn't end up in anybody else's beverages or sewer systems or anything. But believe it or not, it's important to our children. So go
Yes.
back to your childhood. You would
Yeah.
do.
So yeah, I mean, like I said, I had my own little mortuary, you know, during my childhood, and I would make, and Lord knows I got my behind whipped plenty of times. I would take the egg cartons and make little caskets out of them, and I would take Kleenexes from the house and make the lining from, in the egg carton that would be the casket. So yeah, I did a whole lot of things as far as trying to imitate what I seen, at the church. But Miss Jacobs, let me tell you, nobody will never believe that I was scared of dead folk. I was actually scared of dead folk. And I have this in my book, but I can remember the first funeral that I went to, never shall forget it. And my brother and I was sitting between my older brothers and sisters. And so in my hometown, instead of viewing, while before the funeral and all that, they would have the casket closed. And at the end of the service, they would place the person at the back of the church in the vestibule, and you view going out.
Right.
And so this particular funeral, this family was very emotional. Oh, they were screaming and going on, never shall forget. And so when they were going out, after the funeral director, I guess, prepared for the casket to go out, they were going out and they were hollering and screaming. And I've been over and asked my sister, I said, why are they screaming like that? And she tells me, well, when you go by the casket, the body's got to reach up and touch you. And I started crying, and it was just scary. But she was just doing that to mess with me.
Right.
And so, but yeah.
That's torture.
Thank you. I think for a time there, she scarred me, psychologically scarred me. But over the years, once I started working, around my cousin's place, but one thing they did do, they did not allow me in the prep room until I started mortuary school. And so after I started, I got the experience because I knew what I wanted to be. But that's different when you're saying, oh, I want to do this or I want to do that, until you actually experience it. So, it was through those experiences I calmed my fears about, working with, the deceased and everything. And I came on to do what I do today. Yeah.
Well, I'm so grateful that your cousin, the scar that she attempted to put on you.
Yeah, my older sister always.
Your older sister didn't scar you for life, because then we would be missing out on a beautiful calling
exactly
on your life. And you clearly have a love for the animals too. So
yes.
I don't know if in your current services, because I don't think I saw that on your website. Do you still do that kind of service for pets?
No, I don't. I don't deal with the pet. I have friends that outside their regular funeral services, they have cremation services for pets, but I never did venture out in that aspect of it. Yeah.
But it did kick your dreams off, and you went around.
Yes,
you went around and collected.
Yes, ma'am. And I talked to a lot of my friends, and surprisingly, they did the same thing. They, as children, they would go home and imitate what they've seen.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, good. Well, I'm grateful that you're here to talk to us today about the inevitable.
Yes.
So when we come back right after this commercial break, what I want to hear is, from your perspective, especially being a funeral home owner, talk to us about the inevitable and talk to us about how people can prepare in advance of what happens in life.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So right after this commercial break, we're going to hear more from Terry Lamb, owner of Lamb Funeral Home in Concord, North Carolina, but again, certified in all 50 states. So even if you are wherever you are watching this broadcast, you can still benefit from his services. Let's check out Snow Legal now.
I'm attorney Kenneth D. Snow, and at the Snow Legal Group, justice is our job.
For more than 20 years, Attorney Snow has been fighting for justice and winning cases in the Carolinas by providing aggressive representation in criminal defense, domestic violence, family law, serious injury, and wrongful death. If you've been injured or lost a loved one in an accident, including tractor trailer or rideshare, you need the Snow Legal Group by your side, fighting for justice and fighting for you. Visit snowlegal.com. Call 704-358-0026 for a free virtual consultation. Located at 6827 Fairview Road, Suite D in South Park.
All right, everyone. And we are back with Mr. Terry Lamb, and he's a busy man over there. So just so you know, they're calling him and asking for his services and everything right while we're doing the show. So I told him, don't worry about that. This is a show about how people literally balance different aspects of their lives. So if you need to take a call, Mr. Terry, we can pop you off the screen, and it's nothing to it. You got to do what you have to do. Okay. So don't feel like, are you good?
I'm good. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. But if for some reason a call comes in and you know that, let me know and I'll just make adjustments. Again, we're talking about how we can bring balance to the world overall, one household at a time. The only way we can do that is to find other busy people like Mr. Terry Lamb that take time out of their busy schedules to help us better balance our lives in the areas that they're the experts in. So thank you for being here today. Talk to us about the inevitable. And you can hear dogs barking because he's at one of my team members that's on the Jacob Show team. He's at his home and he has 2 dogs and a parrot that's going to repeat some of what we're saying. So it's all about balance. That makes it even better. Okay. So the dog can come on the screen. Go ahead. Tell us, Mr. Terry, what the inevitable is from your perspective and how people can prepare.
Well, death is inevitable. It's inevitable. It's just a fact of life. But to us, we've got to prepare. As far as individuals, we have to prepare for it because it is coming. And the scary thing about it, we don't know when it's coming. You don't necessarily have to die from illness. We just don't know how we're going to leave here and when. And so we just have to prepare. I think the last time I was on here, I said a lot of folk do not like to talk about the subject at all, but it's something that we've got to deal with, especially younger married couples. We've got to deal with it at some point. And I know that, in your dealings with the public, Ms. Jacobs, and even, with me as a funeral director, a lot of times, we deal with folk that, are totally unprepared. And so, and that creates, a hardship, actually on them, the ones that are left behind.
Yes.
With the situation as far as, finances, not being able to meet the obligations as far as, funeral expenses being paid. And not only that, it's just the other responsibilities that come along with it, with being, say, the main breadwinner of the family, something what happens, especially unexpected, that creates a very big hardship, on the survivors. And so I cannot stress enough that, especially us adults, young adults, middle-aged adults, and old adults, this is just something that we got to visit because that day is coming. And so from a funeral director's perspective, I will tell anyone that if you don't have life insurance, you need to look into it. I wouldn't, for young adults, I wouldn't just recommend that you get enough just to cover your funeral. You should have a life insurance policy that could help you not only with your funeral arrangements, but also to have enough left behind that, your surviving spouse or whomever will have enough to handle other expenses, after your death as well. I keep telling our young folk that, GoFundMe is not a form of, burial insurance. You need to really take a look at life insurance. You really need to do that.
Do you have recommendations of special places that you recommend to people when they come to you for life insurance?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Mutual Omaha is a very good company. They're very timely in their response when a life claim is called in. And also Lincoln Heritage Life.
Now, do people
Top
tell
companies in my book.
Lincoln Heritage Life?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, do people say that you referred them when they reach out to these places, or are there
I do. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
There
I
are
used to.
specific places that you like, a phone number and a contact person that
Oh,
you
yes. Oh,
Okay.
yes. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And I used to be an insurance agent, but I chose to give it up because as when I first started out in business for myself,
Yes.
but as the funeral home, got, to really grow for me, I made the decision to give it up because I didn't want to make an appointment with somebody. And of course, I had to serve a family,
Yes.
and yeah, so, so I made that decision to I got friends in the business, so I just brought them on board. So if anybody wanted to, inquire about any insurance, I would give those,
Good.
those persons their number. Yeah.
That's really good. I love that. So if you are interested in being able to learn more about some of your pre-planning expenses, you can reach out to Mr. Terry Lamb, no matter what state you're in, and he can help you in advance of someone passing away. And that's what we're talking about today, kind of preparing for the inevitable, which is the inevitable is that we are all going to at some day, or
Correct.
whether we are knowing it in advance because we've been given a certain amount of time to live, or whether
Right.
it's an immediate situation, which is unbeknownst to any of us, and it totally shocks the foundation of our lives and we're not prepared. This is what Mr. Terry Lamb is on here talking about today. So make sure you tag your friends, your family, your coworkers, let them know that we're talking about preparing for the inevitable. And when we come back from this commercial break, we're going to be able to learn more about some even more specialized services that Mr. Terry Lamb's place specifically offers that helps veterans. So if you know a veteran, if you know someone that's a veteran, or you know someone that's a family member of a veteran, go ahead and tag them now as well and encourage them to be a part of hearing what's about to come right after this commercial break. Thank you so much for being here today, Mr. Terry. And I think that
Yes, ma'am.
very important information. So we're going to go ahead and learn more about Silver Shield Security right now.
It's not just another day, it's a brand new day, full of all the fun, love, and laughter you and your family create. Silver Shield Security understands feeling at home means feeling safe and happy. No credit checks, no contracts. We offer payment arrangements, and we'll even give you a free door camera. Find out how we can brighten your day even more at silvershield-security.com. Silver Shield Security.
All right, everyone, we are back and we are talking with Mr. Terry Lamb from Lamb Funeral Home in the Concord, North Carolina area. And as we're talking today, we're talking about preparing for the inevitable, which is all of us, things that we need to know, because if we don't know these things, how can you ever really pre-prepare for something? Everything is reactive if we're not able to get ahead of the curve and say, okay, this is what we can do now to get prepared for what we already know is going to be happening in all of our lives. And I don't know, before we even talk about that, Mr. Terry, why is it that talking about preparing for death and having life insurance and things of that nature is such a taboo topic? It's like it can cause some serious fallouts in families.
True, but America, the American society towards death hasn't always been a good thing. People just never wanted to bring it up. And I guess because it's those of us that are not very religious or not religious at all, is very unknown. It's finality,
Okay.
but, those of us that are religion, we hope that there's life never ending. I rest my life on that,
Yes.
my belief in God.
I hang my complete
Yeah,
soul
yeah,
on my eternal
exactly,
salvation.
exactly. So, but I think more so because people, death presents to the physical eye
Right.
that person is forever gone
Right.
from our sight.
Well, from our sight, they are, but
Correct, correct. But that's the attitude.
Right.
I've talked to a lot of young people. They don't even like to talk about it.
Hmm.
And but as I told them, you've got to prepare for it. You've got to talk about it at some point.
I'm
Yes,
really grateful to have you on today because we all have to have this discussion. And if you have
Yeah.
questions, we're going to be doing a flash round where you get a chance to just pop all of your questions in, and I'll be happy to pull your question up so that you can get is like a free consultation. So please make sure you take an opportunity to ask questions about things now on the show if you're able to. Okay, so let's go to some of the additional services that you offer that are very customized to veterans in particular. And I have some photos here of these are some of the veteran services that you all have offered. And tell us, I'm just putting them here, but I do want you to talk about them after I take the photos down. Okay. Yeah, tell us about your veteran services that Lamb Funeral Homes offers.
Well, our veteran services, are pretty much, like the normal traditional funeral, except when the family requests that their loved one, instead of being buried in the church cemetery or some private cemetery, their request is that they be buried, in the local National Cemetery, which
Okay.
namely for us mainly is Salisbury National Cemetery.
Okay. Okay.
It is up to us as the funeral directors, of course, to begin planning on behalf of the family for that to take place based on, the day that they have the funeral.
Yes.
Now, in order to do that, of course, we will ask the family for the documents such as namely or mainly the DD 214. And after receiving DD 214, that's the honorable discharge.
And is it the number 2 or like Roman numeral?
It's the number 2.
Okay.
DD 214, the number 214. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay.
Or, and more commonly, the honorable discharge papers.
Okay. Wow. That's
Yeah.
interesting. So in order for them to be in the national local.
Correct. Yes, ma'am.
We have to have that
from the family. And so what we do after getting that from the family, we call the scheduling office, which is located in Virginia. And we'll give the veteran's name. Of course, they'll ask us to fax over the DD 214. Once they receive that, they'll ask us what cemetery we tell them, and then they'll give us the dates that they have available for scheduled for burial. And most of the time, we are able to, if the family has the funeral services, early enough, we are able to bury that same day after having the service at the church. We generally can journey right on to the cemetery, but then there are some days that we would have to bury, say, the next day, because they do not, the veteran cemetery doesn't have space available for that particular day. So a lot of times, we would have to schedule, say the next morning at the VA cemetery.
That's good to know. And so when a person requests that for their loved one, then you walk them through the process, so they're not on an island by themselves. They don't have
Correct.
to
Yes, ma'am.
contact the VA or
No,
contact
we do all that
cemetery.
on their behalf. Yes, ma'am.
And that's just
Even with getting
incorporated
the
into your
flag.
services.
Right. Correct. Yes, ma'am.
Beautiful. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Even securing the flag. Yeah. We do all that.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And is this something that's standard amongst all funeral homes, or is this
It should be.
okay?
Yeah, it should.
I'm wondering if it's just like customized just to Lamb Funeral Home, or is it more something that?
No, it's pretty much with all funeral homes. You know, we go ahead and schedule on the family's behalf. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, perfect. Okay. I'm loving this. I'm loving everything that I'm hearing to understand, because I'm learning some information as well.
Right.
What are some other things that veterans in particular can expect to? I know there's a form that you sent me, so I want to go over to that and we can kind of talk through it, and you might be able to shed some further light on it. I'll put this link.
If I can interject in just a moment. There's such information if say veterans would like to see if they qualify to be buried in the National Cemetery. Some of the qualifications are, of course, that you would have to have a honorable discharge. You cannot be a felon or committed any kind of, sexual crime or any of that. It used to years ago, they didn't ask these questions.
Okay.
But I think in the last several years, they've started asking these questions.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, unfortunately, if a veteran has that on his or her record, a lot of times they will be refused by the Veteran Administration as far as being able to be buried. Now, on the other hand, and I just learned this, is that if you do have an honorable discharge, and I believe it just depends on what it was for, you can get what you call a upgrade to see if you can get that changed. But you would have to go before a review board.
Okay.
And it is just their decision if they decide to change that from a dishonorable to honorable discharge. So you do have a chance to, I guess, to sort of make an appeal.
That's interesting. And what about people with like people that have post-traumatic stress disorder after they've come back from different wars? Would they still be able to qualify?
From what I understand, and yes, because that's service related.
Okay, because I was wondering, I was like, what? These people may have been traumatized from some of these wars.
Right.
And I was wondering if that was. Then what about spouse benefits as well?
Yes, I'm glad you brought that up. Yes, ma'am.
Actually, Andrew brought it up backstage. He was like, hey.
Okay, well, a surviving spouse is eligible to be buried in the veteran cemetery even before her veteran husband died in some cases.
Wait, say that again. I didn't know this.
Yes. Yes. If a veteran's spouse dies before the actual veteran does, she is eligible to be buried in the VA cemetery because she is a spouse of the surviving veteran. Vice versa, if the spouse, if the veteran dies, of course, before the spouse, then of course upon her death, she's also eligible to be buried even after the veteran dies. Yes.
And what form does she need to have? The same DD2?
If the veteran is living, that speaks for itself. You
need to take that?
Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. He was just showing me some pointers. Yeah.
So, Andrew doing the most over there. Andrew, just so you know, Andrew is with the Kim Jacobs Show team, and this gentleman today happens to be at at his home. So if you are a part of the Kim Jacobs Show team, you already know people do at this show do the most. So Andrew back there is actually a veteran, by the way, just so you know.
Go ahead.
So Andrew, since you're on screen anyway, can you tell everybody about what arm of the military you've served in, and tell us about yourself?
Yeah, I'm a United States Navy veteran who served in the Persian Gulf and some other theaters around the world. I've been pretty much involved in VA concerns. I even worked for the VA for many, many years. I will tell you this, there's some nuances that a lot of people, including military folks, who do not know or understand about their records. Let me be clear. You asked about spouses a minute ago. And the way they do that, and it really depends on where you live in the country, because the soil has a lot to do with if they bury above the ground or below the ground, or on top of the veteran or side by side. But it's more common to find it side by on top of each other because of limited space.
Right.
You'll normally go, if you walk through a national cemetery, which is administered by the VA, that's another part of their duties. You will notice on the headstone, if there's two names on that headstone, on the back side and the front side, one is the veteran and one is the spouse. Now, it's important that you keep up with the records. So, for example, if you don't keep up your benefactors' records, whoever's on record is going to be the one that's buried. So if you got divorced and you never changed your benefit that way, then it's going to reflect that person's still entitled. Now, if they got divorced or something like that, they would not be entitled to the burial. And I want to speak a little bit about DD 214 a second. The DD 214 you mentioned is a record of separation from military service. Some of those, each time you do a stint, each time you sign up for 3, 4, 6 years, and you're at the end of that particular term, you get a DD 214 generated.
Okay.
And then if you re-enlist, you get another one. The important thing about that is it's the way the VA views it, unless it's changed over time, is that a person could have an honorable discharge maybe another term down the road. Okay. If you've served one good term and got an honorable discharge, you still may be entitled. So it's a good idea to get it checked out. So
that's good.
I'll give it to yourself.
That's so funny, because I always literally torture Cassandra backstage. And I'm like, I'm going to pull you in. I'll pull you in. I'll pull you in, Shannon. Or I'll pull you in. But Shambria doesn't. She don't mind. She'll come in. She'll be like, whatever, pull me in. Right. And then Rachel, I'll pull her in. She wouldn't. She's all whatever. Mackenzie, she'll pull in and no problem. Come on, Mackenzie. You and Remy, come on. Right. But Ivan, if I ever say Ivan, he's like, don't be pulling me on that screen. Frank Jr., no. But Cassandra, if I tell her, and she's always camera ready, but she's like, I'm good. And then you see Cassandra backstage. Andrew just go and get right in the guest bubble, right? So he's like in the guest bubble.
You got to call the shots.
We have all kinds of personalities here on the Kim Jacobs Show. Anyway, it's back to my guest, Mr. Terry Lamb. And you're like, can I have the bubble? You can put the right shoulder blade back over a little bit, Mr. Terry. Okay. Not in your bubble. Oh my gosh. Okay. My mom is on. She's watching. She said, thank you so much. This is absolutely great information that you're sharing. Very good. Anything else that you wanted to say before? I was going to show that one. Let me pull that sheet up that you all had sent over and see if you wanted to talk about that and elaborate any more. And you all will be able to see this. These are VA benefits and memorial items that Mr. Terry Lamb was able to share. And these are just general overall benefits.
Yes.
So anybody can attain this information.
Correct. Yes, ma'am.
And so talk to us about, let's see, it says VA benefits can help member services, veterans, and their family members plan and pay for burial. And you kind of already went through some of those. But let's just see eligibility. If people want to know, this is where they would click to see if they qualify. The pre-need, veteran burial allowance, memorial items. These are things that people would get.
Right. But let me revisit some what we were talking about earlier, just for a quick second.
Yes.
We were talking about eligibility to be buried in the veteran cemetery. You know, I just want to spring this forward too, that not only the spouse, but also if the veteran had a dependent, non-married adults child, they would also be eligible to be buried there in the veteran cemetery as well.
Wow.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Non-married dependent adult child.
Adult child. Yes, ma'am. And also they they also recognize same sex marriages. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Veteran same sex marriages. Yes. They recognize that. Yes, ma'am. So
Okay.
you know, they're also, if they're veterans or veteran spouses or partners, what have you, yeah, they would also be eligible to be buried along with their spouse. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, and I see on here as well, let me go back and see veteran burial. They tell you what the allowance is that the VA would pay for. Is that what happens there?
Yes, ma'am. And again, you know, just letting folk know, and Ann is probably the really expert here, and I'm just giving general information as a funeral director.
Okay.
But yes, if you have spent, if the veteran or the surviving spouse has come out of pocket, just basically come out of pocket to
Yes.
make sure that the veteran's body had been transported to its destination, or for the funeral services. Yes, there are certain forms that you can get from the Veteran Administration that you can get reimbursed some of all the expenses that you paid during that time. Yes, ma'am.
That's really good information. And what else is on here? The items that would be like the grave markers, everything that you need to know
Correct.
is right
Yes,
here
ma'am.
on this resource that is being
Correct.
provided by
Correct.
the va.gov is where this particular resource is. Okay.
Right. Yes, ma'am.
And anything else?
Two, let me just say too that they will give you a choice as far as and it depends on which veteran cemetery that you bury, the type of headstone that you would want. I think now, just with me dealing with Salisbury National, their standard stone is the tall marble stone. And so that would automatically come with that. And let me mention as well, anytime that a veteran or their surviving spouse is buried there at the veteran cemetery, the government does supply them with a stone and a free government vault, so that you don't have to buy it. Yeah.
That's good. Good stuff here. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing that screen, but we did put that link right here in the comment section, so you can go back and look at that at any time. And for those that are podcast listeners, is that's a tongue twister, www.va.gov/burials-memorials. And all of the benefits are right there for you all to peruse at your convenience. And so we're talking with Mr. Terry Lamb today, who is the owner of Lamb Funeral Home in the Concord area, but certified again in all 50 states. And let me put their website up so that you'll know. It's lambfuneral.com, so that you can reach out to him directly. I heard you mention a book as well. Is that where they can get the book from that you're talking about?
Yes, ma'am. As soon as I finish and it is printed. Yes, ma'am.
All right. And when do you expect for that to be?
I'm hoping soon.
Okay.
Yeah, I was hoping that it would be the earlier part of this year, but you know, we've had a very busy year this year.
Well, I would tell you to put a specific deadline to it as a coach. Then I would be being a hypocrite, because I surely had a whole deadline associated with the book that I'm writing.
Right.
And my book coaches are like, "You've got to be kidding me, Kim.
Yeah.
That it's taking you this long. The book is done. It's been
Yeah.
done, and I just got to get the manuscript tweaked a little bit and sent.
Exactly. Same here.
And they're like, really? Just send us what you have. Which I'm like, okay, let's do that. I could have been did that back in December of last year. But okay, so I'm not going to hold you accountable to something.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Oh, there's a confession. Okay. All right. So Lamb Funeral Home, when his book comes out, you can find out more there. And whenever it is, sir, I just applaud you for getting it done. Isn't that
okay?
A spirit
Yes, ma'am.
All of a sudden with the big beam in my eye, right? All right. So anyway, you can learn a lot more about Lamb Funeral Services right at lambfuneral.com. Now, I am going to take another commercial break. And right after this break, I'm trying to think it's so much to know about these services and when people are pre-planning, because I think it's better to pre-plan than to
I do too.
wait
I really do.
after the fact. So can you talk to us a little bit
I sure can.
about
Yes, ma'am.
pre-planning? Yeah, just
yes,
as soon as we come back.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and also let you all know, I put in the comment section as well that there is a benefit concert coming up, and it's to benefit homeless veterans. And you all may know about two of our experts that come here on the Kim Jacobs Show. One of them is from the Wooten Brothers Band. And so Joseph Wooten, Hands of Soul, and the Wooten Brothers will be and his wife is Stephanie Wooten, who does this beautiful device through Eagle X Pro that clears the air of COVID, and it has a certain patent for that. And that's eaglexpro.com if you're ever interested in learning more about that device. School buses, hospitals, different places are using it. But this benefit concert is going to benefit homeless veterans in the Tennessee area. Joseph Wooten, who is our expert, that's our historian, and he's also a part of the Wooten Brother Band. They are going to be performing, and the proceeds are going to be going to benefit homeless vets. And I think it's going to be 9/11, if I'm not mistaken, on September 11th. All right. So you can learn more about that. That's right in the comments section. So we're going to learn right now about Hunter Everidge Law Firm. Let me tell you, if you're dealing with someone that has experienced wrongful death of a loved one, you definitely want to reach out to Hunter Everidge Law Firm. You shouldn't have to deal with that alone.
When someone has lost a loved one, they want to know what exactly happened. They want to know, is the other person going to be held responsible? And they want closure. At Hunter & Everidge, we help clients that have lost a loved one move on, and to do that with dignity and respect that they deserve.
Okay, and we are back with Mr. Terry Lamb. Mr. Terry Lamb, please, if you would, tell us about pre-planning and how important that is.
Sure. Now, there are two types of preneeds. Let me first stress that. The one type is what we call the insurance-funded preneed, and that is that if you have an existing insurance policy, you can use that to fund your pre-need planning. Or if you choose to pay on your pre-need or pay for it in full, the other type is called a trust-funded pre-need. And that is that an account would be
Wait, go back one more time because I want to make sure we capture these. Tell us the first one again.
The first is the insurance-funded pre-need.
Insurance-funded pre-need, okay.
Correct, which is funded by an existing insurance policy, or an insurance policy will be used in order to fund that particular pre-need arrangement. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And then the second is called a trust-funded pre-need, and that's where monies are used in order to fund the pre-need arrangements.
Okay.
Now, I was going to speak just a tad bit more before I went back to the insurance-funded. The trust-funded pre-need will how that works is that, of course, upon the family or family member or whomever coming in, making final arrangements,
Yeah.
they would either put a deposit down and do monthly payments, or they would write a check for the full amount. And upon doing that, an account is set up where, in my case, with a bank such as First Citizens Bank, is whom we use. That account will be set up, and of course, the persons will come to the funeral home and make monthly payments, and of course, those payments will be deposited into their preneed account.
Excellent.
And now, upon making a contract, completing the contract at the funeral home, and this is for the consumer's protection, is that a copy of either the trust funded funeral contract or the insurance funded contract, each contract will be sent to the North Carolina Board of Funeral Service, where it will be on file. And that's to protect you as the consumer. Once they receive either contract, they will write you a letter informing you that they do have the contract. They will leave a number. They will have a number for you to call in case that me or any funeral director is having problems with answering questions that you may have or is unavailable. You can call them and find out information about your contract. And again, as I said, that's for your protection. We'll keep a copy at the funeral home. A copy will be sent to the state board, and they require a $20 filing fee from the consumer to have the contract filed there in Raleigh. And also a copy will be given to the consumer themselves to keep for their records.
That's really informative. Listen, everybody that's watching today, I think this is just such incredible information for us to know and to learn and to be able to quickly apply what we're learning, so we don't have to deal with it in a state of shock or aftermath type of effect. So I'm really grateful for everything that you're sharing here. And this, when they come and meet with you, or even if they call, they can get this kind of information, or do they have to?
Correct. Yes, ma'am.
Are you doing virtual consultations with people? How are people meeting with you?
Not yet. Not yet.
So if you're certified in all 50 states, how are people connecting with you?
Well, they call mostly. They call. And of course, like I said, I'm kind of old school. Just got Zoom.
Yeah, that's why I was in your bubble.
So look, as my youngest daughter say, I'm getting there. I'm getting there. So, but yeah, I do have Zoom. So, I'm beginning to speak to a lot of folk, through Zoom. And what I do have too is that we have a website. And so and I really like this because I really got a chance to use this, say a couple of months ago. A young lady was located in Virginia, and she wanted to do pre-need arrangements for her father.
Yes.
And I thought it went out great. She was very pleased with that experience. We had a particular website that she could go on to look at the different caskets and the prices up on the Lamb Funeral Home. And she did that, and we emailed each other, and she was just ecstatic. Mr. Lamb, she was like, you just don't know how this helped me out instead of having to come all the way down to North Carolina.
That is such a blessing.
And that made me feel good, especially to hear a younger person talk like that, that it was very convenient for them.
That's so good. That's so good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited about everything that you are sharing here on today's episode.
Yeah.
And I do want to let you know, this is probably a good time for me to kind of put this plug in here for everybody. If you are a person, you may be a motivational speaker, an author, or you're dealing with have, like, you might be Mr. Lamb or somebody like Mr. Lamb, and you're just looking to improve your presentation skills overall online, I do offer a 4 and an 8-week masterclass. The 4-week class is one where you're working with me one-on-one in this platform that you're seeing here, how to start your own talk show from scratch, or how to just improve your presentation skills. If you're going to be dealing with clients and you're like, okay, I am an instructor, I'm an attorney, I'm this person that teaches fitness or whatever, but you want your platform to go smoothly, I can work with you in solution sessions one-on-one, and you can book those through kimjacobsconsulting.com. And that's you and I working one-on-one for 4 weeks, 1 hour per week, each week until you've completed the training. Or some of my clients enjoy working at their own pace. And so you're able to go on at kimjacobsconsulting.com. You can pay your fee to be able to have work at your own pace 8-week course, and we'll provide you with the code to do that. So anyway, want to make sure I give you the opportunity to take advantage, not you only, Mr. Lamb, but anybody watching, the opportunity to take advantage of those services. Okay.
Right.
And let me also introduce you. Go ahead, Mr. Lamb.
Well, I was going to say, I know I expounded a little bit more on the trust fund, the pre-need from the trust, but I would like to just give a little bit more information on the insurance funded pre-need.
Please.
Now, as far as the insurance funded pre-need goes, as I said, if you have an existing pre-need policy, you can use that existing pre-need policy to, fund your pre-arrangements. But from my professional opinion, this is only my professional opinion. I would recommend, me personally, I would recommend that you, upon making your pre-need planning, and if it's going to be funded by insurance, I would recommend getting with an agent, or I could recommend to say, if I was involved, I would recommend an insurance agent.
That's good. Okay.
That would, fit a policy to your, to your planning. Me personally, if you got a $50,000 policy and your funeral only costs $10,000, what will happen is that money will go into the person's estate.
Okay, and then does the person designate who that estate will be assigned to, or
it will go into the deceased person's estate? Yes, ma'am. Say if it was if it was $50,000 and say, the funeral costs $10,000, and even though that the funeral home was listed as beneficiary, let me stress that in order for the state to recognize that as being a pre-need contract, the funeral home has to be listed as the benefactor of that insurance policy. So that's why I recommend that if you have a great big policy, I don't think I would particularly use that policy, because 9 times out of 10, that check has to be written to the state. It's not ready, it can't be ready available, from what my understanding is, to the surviving spouse. I would just, talk to an agent about getting a policy just to fit that, to get that. Yeah.
That's good.
That's just my professional opinion, as a funeral director. Yeah.
I love it. I love the professionalism that you're sharing on this show. Is wonderful, and it's something that can help every single person that's viewing today. So if you all are benefiting from some of this information at the level that I am, I'm taking notes and everything. I'm doing a whole bunch over here, and it's because I know quite a few VA people and their spouses, their adult children that are dependents and things that I
Correct.
didn't even know of some of the answers that you're sharing on today's broadcast. So even if right now that your schedule didn't permit you to watch, please start a watch party and go back and invite people, share this broadcast with other VAs, that veterans that you know that can benefit from today's episode. This is great information. I'm quite impressed. So thank you so much. All right. So I am trying to see what else can we talk. We talked about so many good things. I'm making you.
Well, there's one thing situation that I run into a lot.
Yeah.
Is that I get calls a lot of times from a family member that is connected to the area that they had a loved one to die, say in New York.
Yes.
So I asked them, of course, they asked me, we need help in getting, the person back.
Yes.
So I asked them, do they have a funeral? Have they already chosen the funeral home? And a lot of times they're like, no, Mr. Lamb, we really don't know anybody.
Right.
Up here. And so I asked them, I said, well, do you know any friends that will recommend a funeral home to you up there? Sometimes they do, they use that funeral home and it works out. And sometimes they don't. So where it comes in for us funeral directors to be networking from all over, a lot of times we know of a colleague that's in the area that can help them. So what I normally do, I call and talk to that colleague first, tell them the situation, whatever it may be, and tell them that the family will be calling them. Because a lot of times, they say, well, we never been through this before.
Right.
We don't know what to do. And so I give them the number to the colleague and it automatically works out. And they can stress to them that, look, we just want them prepared. We don't want to, have any casket or anything. We just want them to be prepared and to be, flown back to North Carolina.
That's really great insight and information. And then one final question that came in over here is, what about families that do not have insurance? How do you handle that?
Well, I've tried to, do the, and a lot of funeral homes have tried to do the, the payment situation, but unfortunately, a lot of times folk don't come back.
I get it.
So, and we are seen as the villain.
And that's unfortunate because you're not the villain. You've gone
exactly
through the process.
But I do my best. What I try to do, if there's no monies, I would present them with several options.
Okay.
Because a lot of times people got to understand. I know that they want to do for their loved ones as they would like. But if the resources are not there, they're just not there.
Yes.
And so, of course, in this age, you have, GoFundMe or what have you. But we as small business owners, we can't afford to finance funerals.
Right, of course. No, somebody got to pay for the
exactly.
And that's normal. So I just wanted to find out how, because I think you probably can speak on behalf of a lot of funeral homes.
Yes, I
got to
can.
have some kind of way, whether it is through GoFundMe or whatever the way is, the money has to somehow be provided. So
Right.
That's good answer.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Okay, we have covered everything that we can cover in a 1 hour period. I cannot believe how quickly the hour went. I'm like, really? I thought we were about 10 more minutes left, but we're done. I don't have any. Okay, let me just run a quick commercial for one of our last episode sponsors here, which is none other than Mr. Terry Lamb.
Hi, my name is Terry Lamb. I'm the owner of Lamb Funeral Home. I've been in the service community about 30 years. Today, I hope you will join me on the Kim Jacobs Show. We'll be talking about subjects like veteran benefits and the preparing for the inevitable. Please join me. I'm sure this will be very informative for you.
And again, Terry Lamb is also one of our sponsors, and he can be reached at 704-782-3011. Website is lambfuneral.com. And usually what I do outside of having my Andrew Roberts today, who could put together a commercial in 2 seconds like that, I normally show his website. So I do want to just show you that right quick so you'll know exactly what you're seeing when you do go over and learn more. Lamb Funeral Home, their phone number I've shared with you. They have 28 years of funeral home experience, and they want their family to serve yours. When you actually come there, no matter where you are around the world, you're going to learn what to expect. You're going to be able to deal with the comprehensive funeral services about immediate needs, as well as funeral pre-planning. So definitely reach out to Lamb Funeral Home today and let them know that the Kim Jacobs Show sent you their way. They have a truly caring atmosphere over there and looking forward to serving you. All right, everybody. So that's today's episode. Thank you, Mr. Terry Lamb.
You're so welcome.
You are awesome, and you did an amazing job. Tune in, as I already told you, tomorrow. I have a young lady named Mama Ja who's going to be talking to us about integrated lifestyle and parenting, a value-centered approach. You don't want to miss this episode tomorrow at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right, everybody. Thank you, Mr. Terry.
Yes, ma'am.
I do need to tell everybody that please, because I have a situation with a young lady that is a dear friend of mine. Her name is Chantel Patterson, and Chantel was tragically killed, Mr. Lamb. And so she is transitioned home to be with the Lord, but was in a situation where someone ran into her and took her life was taken away. And so I want you to know that we do have a GoFundMe set up for her, and the GoFundMe, because she did not have insurance at all, is here in the comment section for you all to be able to contribute if you're able to do so. And right now people have been contributing. So thank you so much for that. She volunteered with Gabe's Heart Foundation faithfully, and she's a Mother Dreamer member. Her dream was to have her own cleaning service and to care for the elderly. So if you're able to contribute, please do so, everybody. All right, that's today's episode, and I'm going to let you go, Mr. Terry. Thank you. God
yes,
bless
ma'am. You have a blessed one.
You too. Hello, everyone. I'm Kim Jacobs, host of the Kim Jacobs Show, where we're bringing balance to the world, one household at a time. Listen, we go live every weekday, Monday through Friday at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I bring guests on that talk about their backstories, things that they've had to overcome to become who they are today. Many of them are balancing and juggling life, and they've become experts in different fields. So they're sharing tips with you to make your life just a little bit easier. Many times as a guest in the studio audience, you'll get a chance to walk away with a missing piece of the puzzle that might be missing in your life. Let's go on this journey together, and I look forward to seeing you Monday through Friday at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on the Kim Jacobs Show.